The UK is about to have a poverty problem on its hands. The country has one of the lowest poverty rates in the developed world, but that's set to change. The United Kingdom is about to have a poverty problem on its hands. The country has been through a lot in recent years, including a Brexit that has left many feeling uncertain about the future. And now, with the coronavirus pandemic causing widespread economic hardship, the number of people living in poverty is set to rise sharply. According to projections from the Resolution Foundation, absolute poverty is expected to rise by 1.3 million, including 500,000 children, in 2022-23. The government has been slow to respond to the crisis, and many people are struggling to make ends meet. Food banks are reporting record demand, and homelessness is on the rise. The situation will only get worse in the months ahead, and the government needs to do more to help those struggling. Welcome to Savvy Economists. In this video, we'll emphasize why the UK is about to have a poverty problem on its hands and how the rising cost of living in the UK is increasing poverty. The cost of basic necessities like food and shelter has been rising faster than wages for years, and it's starting to take a toll on people's ability to fend for their families and themselves. More and more people are being forced into poverty, which will only worsen unless something is done about it. According to a report by Statista, in 2020 and 2021, about 20.3% of individuals in the United Kingdom were designated to be living with relative income after housing costs, AHC, consideration, and 15.3% of people were defined as being living with absolute low income before housing cost, BHC. You may ask, what does this relative and absolute low income mean? Here it is. Generally speaking, relative low income refers to a household or individual whose income is lower than the average income for their particular area or region. This could be in terms of absolute income, which would mean that their earnings are below the poverty line, or it could be relative to the median income for their area. There are a number of factors that can contribute to relative low income, such as unemployment, underemployment, or low wages. Additionally, people who are new to an area or region may also have lower incomes than the average, as they may not yet have established themselves in the local job market. Low income is relative to the number of people in a household and the area in which they live. Absolute low income is the level of income below which a person or family cannot afford to purchase the basic necessities of life. The term is often used interchangeably with poverty. So, here are details on why the United Kingdom is about to experience a long-lasting poverty problem. Inflation. The United Kingdom is about on the verge of a long-term poverty crisis. The main reason for this is inflation. According to a recent report by BBC News, inflation in the UK is currently running at around 10.1%. This might not sound like much, but it means that prices are rising faster than wages, which is putting a squeeze on household incomes. The latest figures show that poverty is on the rise, with an estimated 14 million people now living in poverty. That's 1 in 5 of the population. The main reason for this increase is that benefits and tax credits are not keeping pace with inflation. For example, the standard minimum wage is currently £9.50 per hour, but if the current inflation increases, the wage will be worth lesser after a year in real terms. This means that people on low incomes are struggling to make ends meet and are increasingly turning to food banks and other forms of charity to get by. Another reason this increase has been imminent is due to the fat increase in energy bills, which has resulted from the doubling of oil and gas prices, food prices, and the abrupt change in the cost of used cars. The government has been slow to act on this issue, and it looks like it will take more action to address the problem of rising poverty in the UK. A recent report from the US financial services group Citi claims that inflation in the UK will hit 18% in the first quarter of the year 2023. This is quite disastrous, and no one will want this happening. The government is not doing enough to help those in need, and this is only going to make the situation worse. This needs to change if the UK is going to avoid a major poverty crisis in the future. Political instability. Political instability is a serious factor in poverty in the United Kingdom. Many people are afraid to speak out against austerity measures because they are worried that their voices will not be heard. Others are afraid to speak out against policies that they disagree with because they do not want to risk losing their job. If people can't afford rent, food, and medicine, they will struggle to get by. This has only led to increased poverty and homelessness. Economic inequality. Economic inequality has been on the rise in the UK for years. The gap between the rich and the poor is now at its highest level since the 1980s, and poverty rates are set to increase as a result of Brexit and other political factors. The main cause of poverty in the UK is low pay. More than 1 in 4 workers are paid less than a living wage, which is defined as the hourly rate needed to cover basic costs of living. This means that millions of people are working but still can't afford to make ends meet. In-work poverty is particularly common among single parents and families with young children who often have to work long hours for very little pay. Brexit is likely to make poverty worse in the UK. The fall in value of the pound has already made basic goods and services more expensive for everyone, but it is hitting low-income families hardest. Many working families rely on benefits such as tax credits to top up their incomes, but these are being cut by the government. In addition, EU migrants who have been working in the UK may be forced to leave as well. Increase in the cost of living allowance. The cost of living allowance, which is the amount of money that people need to live on, is not keeping up with inflation. In recent years, the cost of living has risen faster than wages, and this has hit low-income families hard. The government has tried to help by increasing the amount of money that low-income families receive in benefits, but this has not been enough to keep up with the rising cost of living. However, the credit uplift during the pandemic has been withdrawn for quite some time, leaving many families in the country dual in food and fuel poverty and only hoping on charity organizations. Conclusion. With the current situation of things happening in the UK, it is believed that the poverty problem is imminent. This is a daunting prospect, and one that should cause us all to sit up and take notice. The UK has made great strides in reducing poverty over the past few decades, but these gains are now at risk of being reversed. We must do everything we can to ensure that our children grow up in a country where they have the opportunities to thrive, regardless of their background or circumstances. This means making sure that families have access to good quality housing, education, and employment opportunities. Only then can we hope to eradicate poverty from our shores for good. While the full extent of Brexit remains to be seen, one thing is for certain: the UK is about to have a poverty problem on its hands. The government must do something to mitigate the effects of Brexit on vulnerable citizens, or else the country risks seeing a significant increase in poverty rates. So, in your opinion, do you think that the UK is still far from being poor, or close to it? Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. See you next time.